ang babae talagang napakagala.
Ngayon na lang yan, after 2 years. So, sabi ko naman sa ating EP na si Obet, kayo na mananawa ngayon.
Nako, sabi ko...
Dahil after 2 years old ako mag-leave.
Nako, sabi ko itong si Ricky, nag-umpisa lang sa atin, patapos na yung buwan ng Oktubre. Bago natapos yung taon ng 2025, nakatatlong bakasyon.
Ay, pero putol-putol naman. Araw-araw, putol-putol siya. Pero alam ba, ang na-realize ko nga, Pat, kaya siguro putol-putol yung bakasyon. Hindi ko kaya yung mga 1 week, 2 weeks. Parang namimiss ko kayo eh. Alam mo yun talaga, parang...
Chos! Chos! Alam mo, ito talagang gigil na akong makita ka. Dahil meron akong regalo para sa'yo.
Ano kaya ito? Ano kaya?
Ito! Ang malaking baboy na alkansya. Kasi gusto ko mag-umpisa ka na talaga mag-ipon.
Gusto ko to!
Alam mo, this was, I have been wanting to give that to you. First day pa lang, first working day of 2026.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Ito,
diba?
Next year, magkano na kaya to? Kung halimbawa everyday, maglalagay ako.
Ito tip ko lang. It took me, they gave me in the office, that was their gift to me 2024. 1.5 years bago ko yan napuno.
Seryoso? Ano nilalagay mo?
5 piso tsaka 10 piso na coins. Pero ang bigat-bigat na hindi ko na yan talaga kailangan.
Paano ko ito bibiyakin?
Kailangan mo ng itak.
Pwedeng itsunin?
Hindi, ayan. Yan ang aking New Year's gift sa'yo. Para mag-umpisa ka talaga mag-ipon.
Ay, dahil ang problema ko nga, dahil sa bakasyon, kasi hindi ako nakikisabay talaga ng holidays.
Yeah.
So, after holidays, dun ko lang naisipang magbakasyon. Dahil ang sarap magtrabaho pag holiday, walang traffic, diba?
Walang traffic, yeah.
Kaya na ang problema, ito, ganito na rin ang mukha ko.
Ipunin mo yan.
Ganito na rin ang mukha ko ngayon,
Sinasabi niya, tumaba daw siya. Sabi ko, asaan?
Yes, 4 kilograms. Kaya patawarin niyo ako at nakaitim ako ngayong araw ng Lunes.
Sabi ko, 4 kilograms. Parang nahiya naman ako dahil parang 40 kilos yata ang tiba.
Ngayon ko lang naramdaman yung holiday gain na tinatawag. Kasi nung holidays nga, nagtatrabaho tayo, di ba? So, hindi ko siya na-feel. So, yung bakasyon ko ngayon, doon talaga, lalo na, Pat, naku, matutuwa ka talaga.
Saan ka ba nagpunta?
Nag-northern trip ako with the family.
Land or?
Land, road trip.
Kaya ka tumaba, lumaki yung puwet mo. Kasi ang haba-haba ng ano.
I wish! Ayan lang yata yung biyayang hindi ko natanggap.
Okay, so nagpunta ka sa norte.
Norte, inunan natin yung La Union. Napakaganda rin pala ng La Union.
So, nag-beach ka, surfing.
Sa surfing area, pero hindi ako surfer, di ba? Pero makikita mo doon, ang daming mga surfers na mga locals. Local surfers. So, hindi siya kasing gulo siguro ng Siargao. Ang maganda doon, ang dami ring Airbnb, parang yung tinirahan ko, reserva, ang pangalan niya, sa San Juan mismo.
Yes, kasi ano na lahat. Yeah, di ba they're really developing it nga? Ang tawag na nga dyan sa La Union, hindi La Union ang tawag doon, LU.
LU na. Yan. So, madaming ang Airbnb mapupuntahan, ganon.
Pero,
ayan ang La Union. Ang galing niyo,
ang ganda ng sunset.
Ayan.
Ang dami. Ano yung mga blue na yan?
Day beds.
Day beds.
Beach beds. Ayan. La Union lahat. Ayan. Kung saan-saan. Pero syempre, iba yung sand nila.
Yes. Hindi parang Boracay na fino.
Ito iba yun. Ayan. Tingnan mo. Akala mo, nagpunta ba ako ng Greece?
Greece. Hindi yan. Santorini. Saan yan?
Ilocos. Dito lang yan. Ilocos Sur, Villa Vitalis.
Hindi yan yung kay Governor Chavit.
Ayan. Hindi. Sa pamangkin niya.
Sa pamangkin niya. Alam ko nga meron siyang resort.
Pero hindi ko nasabihin pa nga.
Ayan yung mga Crisostomo Street ba yan?
Yes. Calle Crisostomo.
Ayan
naman ang pinakamasarap na longganisang natikman ko dyan sa Casablanca.
Nag-uwi ka ba? Anong pasalubong mo sa akin? Ako, meron akong baboy para sa'yo.
Galing ba doon Taipei?
Hindi. Ako naman sa Taipei, nung New Year's Day kami umalis. Bumalik kami January 4, right before the back to work, diba? Pero ibang-iba naman. Crisologo, hindi Crisostomo? Ano ba sinabi ko? Crisologo.
Calle Crisologo. Ayan. Tingnan mo, Pato, napakaganda,
Yan.
Diyan naman, may mga water sports. Kaya nangitim din ako. Tumaba na, nangitim
ka ba dyan? Sa lagay na yan?
Kaya yung tiyan ko ngayon, ito, fashion tip tayo ulit.
Yes.
Kapag feeling muna na baka, syempre, always wear black. At saka maluwag-luwag. Ayan, So, mga isang linggo, pagbigyan niyo ako.
So, ano yung naging favorite city mo? La Union, Ilocos, nagbagyo ka rin, di ba?
Nagbagyo din ako.
Tsaka ano pa
last leg ko yung Baguio. Nagmuni-muni lang tayo. Ayan, tungkol sa buhay, ano yung mga resolutions
So, ano yung pinakamasarap na pagkain, favorite place mo?
Ito, favorite mo to, bagnet. Lahat, ultimong lumabas yung pagiging Ilocana ko. Dahil favorite ko talaga
You know
yung...
what? Bagnet.
Hindi bagnet. Yung pakbet na may bagnet.
Nako.
So, naisip kita. Kasi hindi ako makain ng baboy.
Siyempre, ayan na, naisip mo lang ako, wala ka namang dinala na naman. Buti na lang, nung December, ang regalo ni Governor Chavit Singson sa akin, nako, isang damakmak na bagnet at longganisa, vegan. Maraming salamat kay Jenny.
At
yung
lang,
kanyang
Jenny,
PR girl. Oo.
Pero thank you din kay Governor Ryan dahil binigyan niya ako ng maraming longganisa. Doon lang. Kasi dahil nagta-travel kami, gusto
hindi mo pwedeng mabitbit.
Hindi ko pwede siya mabitbit.
How was the weather there? Was it as
Baguio
cool?
was 16 degrees.
Wow.
Kapag alas 6 ng umaga. Kasi maaga ako natulog, maaga nagising. It's to reset. Ayan, reset lang and
13 degrees.
Hindi naman. 16.
16. Akala ko ng 13.
Pero siguro kapag madaling araw, umaabot sa 13 degrees.
When I was in Taipei, ang pinakamababa na temperatura, umabot ng 10 centigrade.
Ang sarap.
Oo, ang sarap talaga. Layers talaga ng jacket. I love that kind of weather.
Paano yung pagkain doon?
Masarap. Kasi parang Chinese di ba? Mga xiaolongbao. Di ba? Tapos syempre milk tea.
Wow! Teka lang, kumain ka ba ng stinky tofu?
No, I had that na before many years ago when I was there and I didn't like it. So,
ayoko, lasa
hindi na ako
stinky.
Oy, Miss Weather Girl, alam mo ba, magpasalamat ka kay Ka Nelson dahil siya ang nag-weatherman habang wala ka. Di ba? So, ngayon nabalik ka na ASPN, bibigyan mo na kami ng status ng panahon ngayon.
Sana mas magaling ako kay Ka Nelson, magbigay ng weather.
Okay.
Pero ito po ang status ng panahon natin ngayon. Nagbabadyang nako, ito na naman, mabuo ang posibleng pumasok sa Philippine Area of Responsibility ang isang potensyal na sama ng panahon o low pressure area ngayong linggo at maging unang bagyo para ngayon 2026. Meron na naman,
May bagyo na. January pa lang.
Ayon sa pag-asa, kikilos ang masamang panahon sa Caraga, Eastern Visayas at Bicol Region sa mga susunod na mga araw at inaasahang bukas o sa Miyerkules. Nako yan, papasok na nga ito ng PAR. Gayunpaman, patuloy pa rin ang monitoring ng pag-asa dahil ito ay long-range forecast na maaari pa ring magbago. Pagpasok ng PAR, maaari itong maging tropical depression ang pangalan, the first letter of the alphabet, si Ada. Ada. Samantala, muli namang magpapaulan ng amihan sa northern and central Luzon. Ang shearline naman ang magdadala ng pag-ulan sa silangang bahagi ng northern Luzon at central Luzon, habang ang easterlies ang magdadala ng pag-ulan, pagkuloga at pagkidlat sa natitirang bahagi ng bansa. Inaasahang makararanas sa maximum temperature na 32 or 30.2 degrees Celsius mamayang alas 2 ng hapon at lulubog ang araw 5:44 ng hapon.
Ayan po ang ating weather ngayong araw na ito. Okay, sa ating mga motorista, malungkot po ang balita dahil po, ayan nga, today is Monday. Alam naman po natin, tuwing Martes, galawan po ng mga produktong petrolyo. May kakarampot, may katiting po na inaasahang pagtaas po ng mga produktong petrolyo. Ito po, estimate po nila, bukas po, aakyat po ng, baka hindi naman umakyat, pero kung aakyat man, baka 20 centavos kada litro ang itataas ng diesel, habang ang gasolina naman po 10 centavos hanggang 30 centavos po ang kanilang estimate, habang ang kerosene rin po ay tataas ng 20 centavos hanggang 30 centavos po kada litro. So may kapiranggot po na pagtaas. So kung may budget po kayo, magpakarga na po kayo lahat po, gasolina, diesel, kerosene, para po makatipid po maski na papaano pagtaas po niyan bukas. Ito pa rin daw ang epekto ng geopolitical tension sa Iran at sa plano po ng Estados Unidos sa langis ng Venezuela. So yan po. At ayan, Ricky, puntahan po natin itong ating mga good news. I'm sure na mismo itong mga good news natin.
Siyempre.
Di ba? Alam nyo ba na dito sa Quezon City, may isang basketball court. Diyan po sa Palmera Homes Phase 3 sa Barangay Santa Monica. Ang hindi lang 3-point shots ang pinaghandaan, kung hindi, meron rin silang pangsalo ng tubig ulan. Rain, ano tawag doon? Rain catchment, catch basin, parang ganyan. So ito na nga, sa baba po ng court na yan, may detention basin. Kulungan. Kulungan po. Pero ang iniimbak po niya ay tubig ulan na pwedeng mag-ipon hanggang 1,700 cubic meters po ng tubig ulan para iwas baha. O, di ba? Very good po yan. Kasing laki ito ng kalahati po ng isang Olympic-sized swimming pool. At sabi po yan, syempre, ng mabuti nating alkalde, si Mayor Joy Belmonte. So, ang kanyang ginagawa, imbis na dumiretso sa kalsada itong tubig ulan na ito tuwing malakas ang ulan, sa ilalim muna po ng basketball court niya iniimbak. Dito po naiipon. Tingnan niyo po ang yung mga TV screen. Kaya kapag humupa ng ulan, papakawalan nito papunta ng Tulyahan River.
Yun naman pala.
Diba? So bahagi ito ng Quezon City Drainage Master Plan. Kasama po ang UP NOAA para sa mas maayos na management po kung saan dumadaan ang tubig ulan. At ito pa, may mga susunod pa na mga ganitong proyekto. Ang QC sa ibang mga barangay. Kasama na po dyan ang Tandang Sora. Aba, malapit lang dito. At dyan sa Quezon Memorial Circle. Alam mo, dapat gayahin na ito ng mga LGUs, ng mga iba't mga LGUs, di ba? So, mahilig, yung mga barangay-barangay, mahilig sila ng mga basketbulan.
Diba? Halos lahat ng barangay. Kasi, alam mo bakit?
Bakit?
Malakas ang budget dyan.
Malakas ang budget dyan. At saka, ginagamit talaga yan, di ba? Kasi pag recreation, kailangan talaga natin ng R&R.
Yes.
So, yung mga, usually, mga multi-purpose halls yan, di ba? Basketball court, tapos pwede dyan magpulong-pulong, pwede dyan mag-dance contest, pageant, di ba? So, dapat, bago i-construct yan, or kung i-renovate man lang yan, ayan, nahumukay na sila, di ba? Para may catch basin na rin.
Tingnan naman, napakasimpleng bagay pa, ano? Ba't ngayon ang ginagawa?
Kaya nga, di ba? Parang ano lang yun eh. Pati elementary, mauisip niya yun, di ba? Hindi naman kailangan Einstein level o Harvard graduate.
Kasi baka naman wala nang flood control na ghost projects. Kaya
dito. Anyway, congratulations po sa Quezon City.
Ang galing talaga ng QC.
Yes, for initiating this project at sana nga tuloy-tuloy na yan sa mga ibang mga LGUs.
That's a very good plan, ano? Dahil tama ka, parang kabuti ang mga ang mga basketball court. Di gawin nila ng double purpose.
Correct.
Diba?
May on the ground and underground.
Yes.
Ikaw, Ricky.
Multitasking. Okay, ito, Pati. May plano ka ba anytime soon na mag-Canada?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I plan to because I heard this good news.
Pero pakinggan mo, may mga technicalities. Dahil para po sa mga Pinoy na nangangarap at naghahangad na muli makabalik sa Canada para sa kanilang travel goals ngayon 2026, may magandang balita. Mas pinadali na kasi ang paglipad patungong North America dahil kasama muli ang Pilipinas sa mga bansang binigyan ng visa exemption.
Wow!
Good news.
Good news.
Ito ay para mabigyan ulit ng chance sa mga Pilipinong turista na ma-check ang kanilang travel bucket list papunta ng Canada. Pero ito nga yung paalala natin, valid lamang po ito para sa airplane travelers. Ibig sabihin yan, kung papasok ka sa Canada via a cruise ship, barko, bus, tren.
Or car. Diba?
Or sasakyan. Road trip ka
galing Amerika.
Kailangan pa rin ng visitor's visa.
So only for airline travelers ito.
Yan. At tandaan din na ang mga turistang Pinoy na papasok sa Canada ay dapat nagkaroon na pala ng Canadian visa sa loob ng nakaraang 10 taon o may valid non-immigrant US visa.
Check ako sa dalawang yan.
Check na check.
Check na check ako dyan.
Kinakabahan ako kasi pat naman na maglilive.
Hindi, sa May pa ako mag-leave, summer.
Yan pala. Okay. Sa May?
Sa May. Kaya wag kang mag-leave sa May.
Okay, required din po ang pagkuha ng Electronic Travel Authorization o ETA. Hanggang 6 na buwan naman, pwede manatili sa Canada. Aba, ang tagal Para sa leisure or business travel, para masulit ang bakasyon, matatagal. Ang kay Canadian Immigration Minister Sean Fraser, mas magiging mabilis, madali at abot kaya ang pagbisita sa Canada sa ilalim ng visa-free air travel program na unang inilunsad noong taong 2023.
Alam mo, in fairness, yung Pilipinas, marami na siyang mga visa-free exemptions. Taiwan, kaya rin kami nagpunta ng Taiwan kasi visa-free na rin. Hindi katulad dati, you have to get it online. Tapos, minsan, binibigyan ka lang kasi dapat may US visa ka para mabilis. Kung hindi, kailangan ka talaga pa pumunta yata sa MEC or something. But anyway, ayan ang magandang mga balita sa mga may balak pumunta ng Canada.
Sana naman madagdagan pa yung bansa.
Oo, mga visa-free, no?
Nalulungkot ako ang napakahina ng passport natin.
Anyway, Ricky, kailangan na magbalik trabaho ka.
Yes!
Siksik na siksik pa rin po ang ating ASPN ngayong araw. 3 issues pa rin po ang ating tatalakayan. Ano ang issue number 1?
Siyempre, viral to.
Nabalitaan mo ba ito?
Siyempre, of course.
Maski na nasa Baguio pa.
Siyempre, of
sige, ikaw na mag-issue number 1.
Dahil nagsimula nga po ang usapin bilang isang traffic violation na kaagad inamin at sinagot. Subalit, naging viral pa rin at lumikha ng debate sa social media. Nalantad po dito kasi ang polisiya at proseso ng Land Transportation Office o LTO. At para ikwento sa atin ang detalye nito at kasalukuyan estado mula mismo kay Man of the Hour, my friend, our friend, ang suki ng ASPN motoring journalist, motovlogger na si James Dicken.
Ayan, di ba? Kasi hindi naman niya dinidispute yung kasalanan ng anak niya. Ang inireklamo niya, yung proseso.
Tama.
At saka yung reckless use of the word reckless driving.
Correct. Kasi parang pang-criminal na yung reckless driving, di ba?
Kaya
Tsaka parang nasa record mo na, di ba?
Oo, di ba? So mamaya bibigyan niya tayo ng linaw kung ano na nangyari, ano yung mga pulisya dahil nga talagang naging viral nga yung issue na yan. So sana nakabuti,
Sana.
di ba? Okay, yan ang issue number 1. Issue number 2 naman po natin, hinatak na po ng Bureau of Customs ang at mga iba pang mga ahensya, kasama po dyan yung NBI, PNP, kung ano-ano pa, ang 14 na mga luxury vehicles ng pagmamayari ni dating Ako Bicol Party List Representative Zaldico. Sa bahay nito, dyan po sa Taguig. So dahil dito, nakikipag-ugnayan na po ang BOC sa ICI para matukoy kung sino ang may-ari ba talaga nitong mga luxury vehicles nito at yung condominium unit kung saan na-discover nga itong mga sasakyan. So pag-usapan po natin ito, kasama po natin ang spokesperson po ng Bureau of Customs, walang iba kundi si Attorney Chris Bendijo. So asahan ba natin na itong mga luxury vehicles i-auction ulit parang sa mga diskaya? At saka parang hindi nila na-meet rin yung kanilang target, ang BOC noong 2025. So tingnan natin kung ano magiging mangyayari sa Bureau of Customs. Yan po ang ating issue number 2.
Ibig sabihin, mag-iipon rin naman tayo.
Pambili ng payong. Pambili ng payong sa Rolls Royce.
Issue number 3, international news naman po tayo dahil patuloy ang mga protesta sa Iran habang tumarami ang mga namamatay. Dahil dito, nagbabala po si US President Donald Trump na posibleng muling mangialam ang Estados Unidos. Samantala, inanunsyo ng Administrasyon Trump ang malawakang pag-atras ng Estados Unidos mula sa dosenang international organizations at kasunduan, lalo na ang may mga kaugnayan sa United Nations. Sa katwirang, pinahihina umano ng mga ito ang soberanya ng US at isinusulong ang mga agendang progresibo. Talakayin naman natin ang mga galaw ng US na posibleng makaapekto sa international community. At makakasama nga natin pat mamaya si Professor John McLean-Hill, isang geopolitical analyst and lecturer ng Department of International Studies sa DLSU. Kilala ko siya!
Kilala mo siya!
Basta pogi.
Basta pogi. Okay, so yan po ang ating tatlong issue. Samahan nyo kami ni Ricky hanggang alas 10. At dahil nga maya-maya, makakausap na po natin si James Dicken para himayin at bigyan tayo po ng updates tungkol dito nga sa naging trending ng kaso ng kanyang anak. Ito ang ating question of the day. Ito, kayo ba? Meron ba kayong ma-share na mga experience na kabuti ba itong pangyayari na ito sa anak ni James Dicken? I-share nyo na lang po ang inyong mga kung sakali nga meron kayong mga naranasan para at least po mamaya pag-usapan natin yan. Okay? So ang ating question, bakit kailangan magdusa muna ang mga driver bago ayusin ng LTO ang mga maling patakaran? Ano sa palagay nyo? So mag-comment lamang po kayo sa aming Facebook account at hanapin lang po ang Net25 News and Information at makibahagi sa aming talakayan online. And po ang aming question of the day. At magbabalik po ang ASPN.
Ano sa palagay nyo?
Ang sigaw ng Pinoy Nation.
Way to success? Start with the best. New Era University, where we guide every individual to their natural state of excellence. Enroll now, because New Era University awaits the future we can build together. Sa dami ng usap-usapan, alin ba ang dapat paniwalaan?
Magandang umaga, Pilipinas! Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao. Siyempre po, worldwide.
Balitang may basehan, komentaryong may laman. Kasama sina Jen Subarjaga at Nelson Lubao.
Tuloy ng paglilingkod bayan.
Balita, komentaryo, totoo. 100%. Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 5 ng umaga, dito lang sa Net 25.
Let's get together sa Net 25. Sa Net 25.
Matatag ang paninindigan. Matapang sa pagresponde. Matapat sa paglilingkod. Patikang tagapagbalita. Mata natin sa balitaan. Alex Santos kasama gabi-gabi sa Mata ng Agila Primetime.
Oras! Alas 8:25 na po ng umaga at kasama na po natin sa linya ang ating suking motoring journalist at motovlogger. Walang iba ang nakapakapogi kamukha ni George Clooney na si James Dicken. Good morning, James! Happy New Year and welcome back to ASPN.
Good morning, James.
Good morning and Happy New Year.
Okay, James, so did the new year really start out happy? Maybe you can share with us the current status of the case, but just for the knowledge of our viewers and listeners, it was a traffic violation, I think, just before the end of the year, right? Wherein your son was on the second lane and then he moved lanes to exit, correct? And that was where
That's correct.
That was where he was caught. And that was where
That's
all
correct.
this brouhaha started. So maybe you let it come straight from you. What exactly happened and where are we right now?
Well, to make it very simple, I don't think the focus should have been really the actual violation because it was never in contention.
Yes.
My son made a mistake. He's a new driver. He just wasn't familiar with the area. It is a confusing area. And he ended up on the wrong lane, and he ended up changing lanes over the double yellow line.
Yeah.
And he took a ticket for that, and he accepted that. There was no contest. It's only when we went to settle the fine did we run into a lot of hurdles and bureaucratic red tape. And it was very discouraging because I was trying to use this as a teaching moment as a father to say, hey, look, we have rules, we have process. People make mistakes, but there's a path to redemption. There's a path to correct it.
Yes.
We have a process, so let's follow the process. And I was very eager to show him this life lesson. And as we got to the LTO to retrieve the license, we went through all the process, only to be told later that after paying the fine, that we couldn't collect the license because we had exceeded the 15-day period. And I was very surprised because I thought we had about 8 or 9 holidays out of those 15 days.
Yes.
It was one of those intensive periods where all of the holidays came one after the other. So I was a little surprised. Also, they were asking for documents that is not in the Citizens Charter, which delayed as well. So I just brought these questions up. I was, as a motoring journalist, concerned about why the process is like this, because it creates a path of least resistance towards a fixer, which we don't want that culture.
Correct.
So, of course, I made sure that I brought this up on social media. And then the focus turned 100% on the violation.
Yeah.
And that's where the story blew up. And it was beside the point, in my opinion, but it just got hijacked. The story was, you see, he made a mistake. Road safety advocate's son is not perfect, made a mistake. Therefore, let's embarrass him in nationwide news. And that's where it got out of control.
Okay.
Do you think, James, that being a motor journalist that you are, do you think it affected how LTO actually handled everything? For example, is it part of their procedure to have like a press conference? Imagine they had a press conference
With
to
the
humiliate
LTO
your
chief
son.
himself, with the LTO chief himself.
Yeah. Do you think it's because, you're somehow a VIP, di ba? You're a personality. Do you think there was an unfair treatment towards you? I mean, we already know you have actually taken accountability, full accountability. I even read one of your very first posts that made this be a teaching moment for your son. But then were you surprised how it turned out? Like there was a press con before you even learned about it. What other procedural inefficiencies did this experience reveal to you?
Well, aside from the inefficiency that I was actually complaining about or bringing up, yes, I did feel that due process was terribly violated and that it was an excessive use of force or intimidation. And I do feel it was directed toward me, not my son. They just used my son as an example to get through me. And yes, it was deliberately, in my opinion, I felt it was deliberately hijacked to divert attention over what the real issue was, which was we need proper reform. We cannot tell people to follow the process if the process looks like this. But I guess it became personal, and that's where it all got out of hand. And so, alam mo naman, ganito yung when there's a hot story, it's very easy to just hijack the story with certain phrases, reckless driving, and then it turned out that the vehicle wasn't registered on top of that. So that was a big bombshell that we didn't know. That was a shock to us because it was after the fact. We had already, I mean, my son had already taken the ticket. He had already paid the fine. He didn't get cited for a unregistered vehicle. He drove it away from the scene. We went to the LTO. We went through so many layers at the LTO. They didn't catch it there. It was never flagged. It was never said. We settled the fine, and the case was closed. And the only reason that this became anything was because of the 15-day period, they refused to release the license. They said, over ka na sa 15 days. I said, paano kasama yung mga holidays? Kung mga 8 or 9 days may holidays, and they said, ganun talaga. So that's where it all kind of, it went berserk. And yes, I do feel that my bringing it up led to all of this, because I don't recall a show cause order, not even a show cause order. This was, I don't believe, I've never seen a traffic violation be played out on national television like that, considering that I did reach out to the ASEC beforehand. I reached out 2 days after through a friend and said, how do we, I need some clarification. I wasn't even contesting. I just, as a parent, I wanted to teach my son what constitutes reckless driving, because a lot of people do complain to me about this overuse of this charge. It's being overused, that it's had dilutes it already. So when a real reckless case happens, what do you now call it? It's just crossing a double yellow is reckless. They make up these, it becomes, the line gets blurred. So that's all I was seeking clarification from. And then they said, no, he's trying to get a padrino.
Nako.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So yes.
Oh no. So James, no, because of this incident, there were so many reforms, no, overnight, if I may say. So now the license confiscation policy has been changed. The deadlines and due process has been changed. So instead of calendar days, it's now working days. And then even the classification of reckless driving, I think they're also going to, have to change that, because I agree with you. It's reckless of them to use the word reckless driving when you're just changing lanes. So, is this, aside from these three aspects, is there anything else that you want to add to the reforms, to the process that has to be resolved, so that it's more efficient for motorists, in case they violate, in case they come, they violate rules of on the road?
Well, I think we already have a massive win with the license confiscation. That is already a thing I've been fighting for about 20 years now. So that is great. I think that does a big thing, because it takes away all of unnecessary friction and opportunity for corruption, because you don't feel like you're being held hostage or something's being held hostage. This is where people want to go through a fixer, because napakahirap talaga papunta sa LTO East Avenue. And some people are coming from, if you get caught on the Skyway, you could be from out of town. It still goes to LTO East Avenue. So that is already big. I think just following the ARTA rules is already enough, because ARTA has really made sure that the documents and all the requirements have been brought down to the bare minimum. In our case, it just wasn't followed. So it's not a rule change that we need. It's just implementation and following those rules. And then I think with all of that, line payments, I think we're good. I mean, people need to feel, of course, the penalty when they get caught. I mean, there needs to be some sort of some hoops that they jump through, but let's keep it within process, because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is encourage people to use the proper process. Do not give them a path of least resistance towards the fixers, because that is where all of the corruption happens.
But what you saw also good was the change from calendar days to working days, because like you said, no, the violation was committed towards in December, wherein there were so many holidays. So that really makes a difference, especially if, let's say, you already made plans previously and then you got caught today, and then maybe the following day you're going to go out of town or whatever, then you come back, the 15 days has lapsed. So even that, I think, is also a victory on your part and for the motorists. James? Oh, I think we lost James. What happened to James? Okay, anyway, we'll try to get back, we'll try to reconnect with James. Pero yun na nga, no, sabi nga niya, na para sa kanya, no, victory na talaga yung, yung pagkukuha ng lisensya. Kasi may experience ka na ba na
actually,
nakuha na
matagal na yung direktiba pati. Matagal ko na nabalitaan na hindi pwedeng i-confiscate ang lisensya. So hindi ko rin maintindihan
bakit
kung
kinuha.
bakit kinuha. At gusto ko rin si James, bilang ama, syempre, ang sakit na makita yung anak mo, number one, nagkasala na nga, papaluin mo pa ba? Pero it was a teaching moment na for him. Pero para ipahiya, meron bang kaya, may legal kaya na paraan para halimbawa makasuhan yung mga LTO? Is there anything within legal means?
Well, I think with this, parang supalpal na rin sa kanila na ibig sabihin nga na mali nga yung ginawa ninyo. Kaya nga parang ngayon magiging na ito daan para baguhin yung proseso nga. 'Di ba? Yun na nga, dapat hindi na nga kinukuha yung lisensya.
Pero matagal na yan eh.
Alam ko rin eh. Kasi ako dati, if I remember, although this was many years ago, tinikitan lang ako.
Ganun lang.
Tapos parang babayaran mo na lang yung penalty mo sa bangko eh. Parang Metrobank pa nga yung time na yan. Pero nasa iyo yung lisensya mo. Tapos pag hindi mo siya bayaran, parang magiging marka yon sa sa iyong record, sa driver's license.
Tama.
But I guess it's depende kung sinong natapat na enforcer sa iyo, kung
Siguro,
kukunin
baka
sa kayo.
hindi nila alam talaga kung ano yung batas na dapat nila pinapairal.
Dapat siguro mag-refresher course rin yung mga enforcers natin para alam nila na bawal talaga mag-confiscate ng lisensya.
Sinong magkakaroon ng accountability kasi LTO bukod sa reforms? Kasi hindi naman pwede na lalabag lang sila. Nandiyan na si James ulit.
Nandiyan na sila, James. Okay. James, sorry. Did you hear what I said? I was saying, to me also personally, I think it was also a victory that you were able to change it from calendar days to working days, because that really makes a difference.
That's huge. That's huge, because that was really the whole our whole sticky point was that had we followed that, or had that not been an issue that day, this would have never been brought up, because we would have gotten the license, gone home, and everything would have been wrapped up. But because of that particular rule, that's what this blew everything up. And again, it shouldn't have been a big deal. I guess what was disappointing is that the LTO were offended that I called it out on social media. But what the point was is that I had gone through the process all the way to the point that I had to, it was already suspended. There was nothing else left to do. When we went to the lawyer's office at the LTO, where they give you a chance to be heard, it was already stamped, suspended na. So the only thing that we would need to do to keep within the system is to call a padrino. And there is absolutely no way I was going to do that and show my son that this is the way. So we took it. We took and I had people that on the inside that I knew that I would never use, but I did call them and tell them that I was asking them for advice and all this. And they said, just go through the process. And I said, I will. I'm just confused about the reckless driving charge. And they said, okay, well, just if you hit a wall there, let us know. But that's the wall we hit. It was stamped.
Okay.
The judgment had been passed. So that's why I went to social media. And yes, normally I agree. You don't go straight to social media, but you can also hold it against the person when they use it as the last resort.
Yeah. So, James, just for clarification, Ricky and I were discussing, isn't the confiscation of license since before not allowed, but yet they confiscated your son's license? What is really the correct law? I mean, are
Ano
they
ba talaga,
allowed?
di ba?
Ha? Yeah.
Yes.
Oo. So
Ano
what
ba
is
talaga?
it? Ano ba talaga?
I was speaking to several attorneys who already said there's a Supreme Court order that enforces that. They're not allowed to take your license. I brought this up, like I said, 20 years now I've been writing about this. And the question that I keep posing is, how do you confiscate the license without a trial?
Yeah.
That license is that you had to go through a process. And in the case of where it's MMDA or LGU, under what authority are they allowed to take a license that they never issued?
Yeah.
That becomes a sticking legal point because you can't have the medical board take away the license of a lawyer.
Doctor.
If they didn't issue it. So who is the authorizing body? It's the LTO. Only the LTO can take your license, but don't you get due process to at least have the right to defend yourself and sit in front of a judge or a hearing, and then they say, we found you guilty, we now take away your license. That's the only time it makes sense. But to take it away while your case is still being investigated, while you still have room to contest, your punishment has already been handed down. So it is guilty until proven innocent. It's the reverse of our democratic system.
So technically, they're not allowed to confiscate regardless, correct? You said there was already a Supreme Court ruling.
That's my position. My position legally is that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, but that's why I bring up the question. Isn't it already upheld by the Supreme Court? And under what authority are you doing this if you're not LTO deputized? And if you are LTO deputized, why doesn't the person get due process before the actual cancellation? It's not cancellation, suspension. Because the suspension is a penalty in itself.
Yeah.
How can you say you have 5 days to contest this when you've already administered the penalty of them having to go to LTO, having to collect your license? Ano na yan eh? It's already, you are on the back foot na. And then now you have to prove your innocence, which is the opposite way.
Okay. James, bago ako magpakwento, kasi nakita natin sa video, no, parang may pumunta mga pulis sa bahay mo. I think it's to give you the show cause order. No? I just have a follow-up on Pat's question. Since now we've seen already that talagang may pagkakamali at magpagkukulang yung LTO, for example, you know, number one, using a press conference, using the media to try to give their own narratives even without talking to you first. Ano pa pagkumpiskas dun sa lisensya ng anak mo. I know as a father, you just want to get it done and over with. And of course, bonus na lang itong mga nagawa nating magagandang bagay mula dito. Do you plan to make somebody from LTO accountable? Or is this enough? The policy changes are enough?
Oh, the policy changes are enough. This is not personal for me at all. I think these measures is what, like I said, been fighting for over 20 years. So to have it done in 5 days is already kudos to the Department of Transport. That is what good public service looks like. And they should be commended for it. Because we make mistakes, right, as humans. Well, so do they. We accepted ours. They should accept theirs. The DOTR accepted it, and look, they got national praise, and it's all deserved.
Yeah, pero paano, James, how about
reform.
Yeah, James, my question is, you have the platform to do it. I'm asking this because paano yung mga kababayan natin na halimbawa nagtatrabaho lang as a GP driver, na sapat lang yung kailang kinikita, wala silang platform the same as you. Subalit, gagawin din sa kanila ng LTO. How sure are we that everyone, not just journalists, not just, you know, people who have the platform, can be protected from future inefficiencies?
Well, I believe ARTA is doing a good job of that, regardless of what your stature is socially. I believe ARTA is very fair about this. If you call them and tell them that you feel the process has been violated, they're very quick to act. So that's the avenue for everybody that they should go to. And I did go to ARTA too.
Yeah.
So this was separate to the 15 days because ARTA don't have authority over changing policy. They just have authority over enforcing policy on the Citizens Charter. So I did the two. So the answer to your question is, yes, we have to rely on the system and the watchdog to make sure that they are following the system. And as long as they do, I don't believe that we will have the same problems anymore because the lack of confiscation already takes away all that tension and all that friction. And then the ARTA is there to reinforce the laws that are already created to make the
James? Okay. James, can you hear us? James? Okay. I'm
Yes,
very,
I can hear you.
Yes. I'm very curious why the LTO went to your house and issued you a show cause order. On what grounds?
Well, that's another thing I'm confused about because I believe that we had already settled the fine. Now, to be fair to them, what they were saying is that this is an added charge of reckless driving because the car did not have the right papers. So, as I said, this was news to us. The car was received in good faith, and the car was set a plate registered on the plate. It's not an official plate, but you know how we put the conduction
Temporary,
sticker number on it, and then from the dealer it said registered. It had the chassis number, engine number. So, you know, for a new driver, for anyone actually, but especially a new driver, to see all that, plus the conduction sticker, you just, in good faith, assume all the paperwork's done. So LTO were like, no, this is a new charge, so you need a show cause order to prove. We're actually on our way to the LTO now to address that show cause order. So that's, you called us on the way. I just felt that it was a little unnecessary to put the emergency lights on in a private subdivision and park outside my house, where a lot of people know, my neighbors all know who I am and where I live. So that really it's intimidating, you know, it's an intimidation tactic.
Overkill.
So I don't really hold them responsible for, you know, like a show cause order. Might be a bit much, but okay, I see where they're going. It's a new charge.
Okay.
Even though it should have been picked up on the side of the road when he was apprehended. Now that they know it, I think they have an obligation to address it. So no harm done there, but I really do think there was a show of force that was done and designed to intimidate.
My follow-up question, James, sorry, is number one, how much did you pay for the penalty? And number two, what kind of car was it that, you know, you said in good faith you accepted it? Was it an imported car? That's why there was no ORCR yet. And yet, in the charter, I think ARTA made this clear also, that it's not in the charter of LTO to demand an ORCR when you're apprehended for a traffic violation. Just for clarification.
No, it's not. You know, for clarification, it's the ORCR is not required when you retrieve your license. You are required to show your ORCR when you're apprehended. That part's okay.
Okay.
It's only when you're getting the car that they reduce the license, should I say, that they reduce the paperwork. And it's there, clearly. You don't need the ORCR to do that. So that was an added hoop that they added to it, and that they were, actually we had an ARTA hearing, and ARTA said that. You should never have done that. So yeah, that's the rule for that, for the ORCR.
How much was the penalty that you had to pay?
The penalty was 2,010 pesos.
That was because for reckless...
I'm not sure what the 10 was for.
Yeah, reckless driving, supposedly, for the reckless driving.
Reckless driving, yes.
Okay.
And that's another thing, is the fines do go up.
Yeah.
And I'm not contesting. I want to be clear that I'm not saying that he is or he isn't. It's clarification that we're seeking, because it's a broad, very broad brush that you're being painted with. Reckless driving should include endangerment to others, willful disregard for the law.
And that is the definition, ano?
Now, when you're trying to merge into a lane in peak hour traffic, then that's not endangering anyone, really. It's inconveniencing everyone.
Yeah.
And for that, you deserve the penalty of disregarding traffic rules or disregarding lane markings or whatever the fine is. But he did get the double yellow infringement, and then he got a reckless driving. So it feels as if these are two charges of the same thing. And if one charge specifically targets it, why would you use a broader charge as well? Again, I'm not a lawyer. This is why I was asking. I wasn't contesting. I wasn't saying that they had no authority. I just said, I need to explain this, not just to my son, but to all of the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people out there that have this same concern. I get these letters all the time.
Okay, James, balitaan mo kami ha, because as you said, you're on the way now to the LTO to deal with the show cause order. But after this, after you deal with them today, what are the next steps?
What are the next steps? I think we put this all behind us. We have lessons that we also need to learn from this. The LTO, I believe, have lessons that they need to learn. So long as these guidelines that have been put in, this new memo that's been issued, as long as that's followed, I don't believe there's anything more that needs to be done. This is already a massive win for the Filipino public, for the driving public. And I think we should take it magnanimously. I think, you know, we move on because policy should change and keep up with society. We change as a society, and therefore we need to revisit rules. In fact, if you had put it up to me, I would say that for every rule that you add, you need to take out 2. You need to do some spring cleaning. You cannot just keep adding and adding and adding, because eventually you will just paralyze the country. So you need to revisit what is antiquated, what is outdated, and then you have to come up with a new rule and something that takes away tension, because again, when you have too many rules and not enough enforcement, you clog up the whole system.
Correct. James, my last question. You mentioned that your son was ticketed for 2 violations, crossing the double line and reckless driving. So are they dropping now the reckless driving? Because you were very against that, because you said, it sounds like a criminal record. It's going to be on his record already for life. So what is now the decision on that reckless driving violation?
The first reckless driving is already administered, so it's not I've not been told that it could be reversible. I'm not sure. And again, I want to make it clear, it wasn't contested. Because they did clear it up with me. They said this is not the kind of criminal reckless driving. Because there's 2 sides. There's 2 types. The criminal side is the reckless imprudence, resulting in something, whether it's homicide, injury, or damage to property. And there, you need to answer criminally. This is not that. But you don't know that for the 2 weeks or that you're waiting over the holiday period, stressing out because nobody's answering your questions. And you're going straight to the source. That's why I went straight to the source. It's because we were going through all these holiday periods where I couldn't get to the LTO. So I was going straight to the source for clarification. And the source that I went to was an attorney who works with the LTO, whether officially or not officially, but they're very good friends. I asked specifically, can I get clarification on this? Because I really can't go through the whole holiday stressing about this. Kawawa naman yung bata.
Correct.
It's anticipation can be worse than the actual event.
Exactly.
So stressing out over something of the unknown can be actually a more terrifying thing. And I didn't get the answer. And then you can imagine, to my surprise, when you see on social media the same person that you went to 2 days after the problem saying, this guy is a grandstander, shouldn't go on social media to solve these problems. I was stunned. My God, I literally went to you first.
And they had a press con.
Can you name him? Was this the LTO chief himself?
No, it wasn't the LTO chief, although I was trying to get to the LTO chief. It was through Robbie Consunhi, who was an attorney and also what I thought was a friend in the beat. We had worked together many times, so I had no reason to think that this was he had any issue. We were friends. I've known him for 20-something years.
Oh my!
And so it was shocking to me.
He threw you under the bus.
I had to go back. I actually had to go back to my messages to read, to go, did I dream this up? And I looked back, and it was December 20. Hi, I need a little advice here. And then he said, we have a no padrino system. And I said, I never mentioned any padrino. As a matter of fact, I'm completely taking responsibility for this. I'm seeking clarification. It's all in black and white. And so, napakagulat naman ako when I saw that.
Oh, nako. Okay, so I guess after all, it is still a happy new year, James. You made so many motorists happy because now at least, despite the noise, whatever, at least there were some reforms that's going to be enforced now. So we thank you for that. Thank you very much for your diligence, for your courage. Thank you very much, James.
I think I appreciate that, but I think a lot of the unsung hero here is my son. Because, I have to say this before we go. This is not my first rodeo. I know what I get into as a public figure. He did not deserve this. He did not bring this up. He did not make noise about this. But yet he took it like a champ. He took it like a man. And I'm very proud of him because that was a lot of intense pressure. To go under national scrutiny like that and have tens of millions of people. On my Facebook page alone, I counted the views. It was 37 million people. Saw this. This on my page alone. You can imagine the amplification on traditional media, everyone else's social media, forums. So he was the subject of national scrutiny, and he held his own. And the only reason he held his own is because he came in willing to accept his mistake, and he settled it. He knew that his premise was secure. He wasn't trying to make palusot. He was trying to do the right thing, and he got caught up in this frenzy. So for that, I think he's the unsung hero.
You know, James,
Thank you.
Last na talaga, promise. Kasi I'm glad you brought up your son. Because as a parent, of course, 19 years old lang yung ate, di ba? And to go through everything. How is he now?
He's doing fine. Like I said, had he lied, had he exaggerated, had he tried to make palusot, I think this would have been a totally different thing, and we could be dealing with something very, very serious in the way of trauma. But, you know, he has a good support system around him, and he knew what he was doing was correct. He made a mistake. These things happen. And this is another thing that bugs me culturally, is when you make a mistake on the road, traffic, it's usually the enforcer is galit. But galit, but personal. Why do you seem like I've done it to you? It's a mistake. You act like it's so, my God naman, ano ba to? And it's like, teka muna, you wouldn't have a job if there weren't people making mistakes. Your job is literally to apprehend and then to make multa. There's an entire department just for that. Tapos, when it happens, parang gulat kayo. Parang, oh my God, this is the most crazy thing we've ever heard. Naku, it's like walking into Jollibee, ordering a burger, and nagulat sila. Oh, naku, bakit gusto ng burger? Ano yun?
Ay, naku, James, I'm so glad you see the light of it. You still see the humor about this incident. But thank you very much again, James, and good luck later when you go to LTO to answer that show cause order that they slapped on you. Thank you very much, James.
Maraming salamat po, and good morning to all of you.
Good morning, and thank you again to James Dicken, our motoring journalist, motovlogger, and Suki po dito sa ASPN. At ang oras, alas 8:55 na po ng umaga. Sa aming pagbabalik, ayan na, magpapahayagan na kami sa pagbabalik po yan ng ASPN.
Ano sa palagay nyo?
Ang sigaw ng Pinoy Nation. Information and education.
Is a new story with Kada Umaga.
Your favorite morning show, ito po ang Kada Umaga!
Surprise performances, latest trends, expert hacks, and exciting games. Be ready to be part of the Kada squad and enjoy your morning with Diana, Emma, and Pia. Kada Umaga, Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon, only on Net 25.
Let's get together. Sa Net 25. Sa Net 25.
On your way to success? Start with the best. New Era University, where we guide every individual to their natural state of excellence. Enroll now, because New Era University awaits the future we can build together.
Alas 8:57 na po ng umaga, silipin na natin ang mga mainit na balita para sa araw ng Lunes, January 12, 2026. Ayan po, ASPN pa rin tayo, ang sinundang pangunahing news. Ang una nating headline, pagbawi po ng testimonya ni Henry Alcantara at Bryce Hernandez, tatalakayin sa unang pagdinig ng Blue Ribbon Committee. Sabi po ni Senator Ping Lacson at ang DOJ walang natanggap daw na affidavit ng pagbawi. Ang Cabral files na hawak ni Lacson, may ilang pagkakapareho sa hawak ni Congressman Leviste. Ricky.
Pinalaga naman ang patutsada ni Senator Amy na ayaw nilang pangalanan sila Romualdez sa hearing. Ayaw namang magkaroon ng meow-meow sa Senado o ayaw naming magkaroon ng meow-meow sa Senado. Ayon po kay Lacson naman, hindi nga raw ito dumadalo sa pagdinig ng Blue Ribbon.
At PBBM impeachment isinusulong ng ilang grupo. PBBM nasa United Arab Emirates na.
Cebu landslide, VP Sara nakiramay, personal na bumisita sa mga biktima ng binaliw landfill landslide sa Cebu.
At ang ating international news, eye shooter sa Minneapolis ay asawa daw niya ay Pilipinong immigrant. At ang parents po ng ICE agent na si Jonathan Ross, ang asawa dito nakatira sa Pilipinas.
Samantala, sa ating police report, isang lalaki po ang sinakal hanggang mamatay ng isang ahas sa Iloilo City.
At ang ating showbiz pasilip, happy birthday ngayon kay Papa P, ang nag-iisang Papa Piolo Pascual.
Your love.
The love of my life. Oras! Alas 8:59 na po ng umaga. Ito na po ang mga istorya sa likod ng ating mga headlines. Ipagpapatuloy ng Senate Blue Ribbon Committee ang pagdinig nito tungkol sa mga manumalyang flood control project sa January 19. Ito po ay ayon kay Blue Ribbon Committee Chairperson Senator Ping Lacson. Tatalakayin po ng komite ang umano'y pagbabawi ng pahayag ng mga dating engineer ng Department of Public Works and Highways, Bulacan, na sina Henry Alcantara at Bryce Hernandez. Pag-uusapan niya ang mga maaring maging epekto sa naturang mga engineer sakaling bawiin o baligtarin nila ang kanilang mga sinumpaang salaysay. Babala po ni Senator Ping, posibleng may reklamo para sa perjury ang mga babaligtad sa testimonya. Mas mabigat niya ang kaparusahan para dito. Hanggang 12 taong pagkakakulong, multang 1 million pesos at panghabang buhay na disqualification sa pagsiservisyo sa pamahalaan ang parusa para sa perjury. Sinabi naman po ni Senator Ping Lacson na kailangan rin linawin ng komite sa Department of Justice kung ang mga dating DPWH engineer ay nagsumite ng counter affidavit sa kanilang testimonya. Noong Sabado, January 10, sinabi po ng Department of Justice na hindi pa gumagawa si Alcantara ng opisyal na pagbabawi ng kanyang mga naunang pagbubunyag sa pagdinig po ng Senate Blue Ribbon Committee noong September 2025. Nauna na pong iniulat ni Senator Lacson na sina Alcantara, Hernandez at dalawa pang DPWH engineer ay nakapag-encash ng bilyong-bilyong piso mula sa mga kasino sa Metro Manila, Cebu at Pampanga mula 2023 hanggang 2025 sa isaan niyang posibleng money laundering scheme. Sa harap po ng posibleng pagbabawi ng pahayag ni Alcantara at Hernandez, sinabi ulit ni Senator Ping na mananatiling matibay ang kaso dahil may iba pang ebidensyang nagtuturo sa mga may pananagutan. Hindi sinasantabi ni Senator Ping Lacson ang posibilidad na tinatangka ng mga nadadawit na personalidad na impluwensyahan ang mga dating opisyal ng DPWH sa pamamagitan ng kanilang mga abogado. Samantala, nakatakda ring imbitahin ng Senate Blue Ribbon Committee sina dating Education Undersecretary Trijiv Olivar, dating DPWH Secretary Manuel Bonoan, dating Special Envoy to China na si Maynard Ngu, at dating ako Bicol Party List Representative Zaldico at iba pa mga resource person na nabigong dumalo sa mga naunang pagdinig. Ayon po kay Senator Ping, maglalabos sila ng sabina sakaling hindi pa rin magpakita sa komite ang mga ito. Plano rin anya ng Blue Ribbon Committee na imbitahin si Batangas 1st District Representative Leandro Leviste kaugnay sa tinatawag nilang Cabral Files. Tinukoy ng senador na may pagkakapareho ang mga dokumentong hawak niya sa mga dokumentong isinapubliko ni Congressman Leviste. Ayon rin po kay Senator Ping Lacson, makikipagpulong siya sa abogado ni dating DPWH Undersecretary Maria Catalina Cabral sa susunod na linggo para linawin ang mga allocable na halaga, particular po ang Special Allotment Release Order o SARO para sa mga flood control project at iba pang mga proyektong infrastruktura na inilabas noong December 27, 2024. Para po sa 15 billion pesos po na buong nagmula sa unprogrammed appropriations ang naturang SARO. 30 billion pesos po sa naturang halaga ang para sa mga flood control project na ayon po kay Senator Ping, karamihan ay ghost project. Nais anya nilang makakuha rin po ng kalinawan mula sa Department of Budget and Management at sa Office of the Executive Secretary kung paano ang daloy ng pondo at kung paano nangyari na naglalbas pa ng saro gayong halos patapos na ang 2024. Alam mo, Ricky, nakakabahala kung magre-recant sina Engineer Bryce at si Henry Alcantara sa una nilang sinalaysay. Dato sa Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, millions of people saw that. And then sasabihin mo, hindi pala.
Diba?
Where is the credibility there? Abangan, sa January 19 na yan. So that's this Friday. Diba? Okay.
Yan naman.
And then next week.
January
Next week sa
19,
Monday.
break na.
Break muna.
Break na tayo.
Oras, alas 9:03 na po ng umaga at magbabalik pa po ang ASPN.
Ano sa palagay niyo?
Ang sigaw ng Pinoy Nation. Information and education.
We are now open for business.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos. Every Sunday, 9 p.m.
Sunnet 25.
Across continents and through time zones. The story of our world. From the corridors of power to the quiet corners of resistance, we follow the voice of change and the truth. Informed by facts, driven by purpose, bound to no border. This is more than news.
Mata ng Agila International.
Tuloy ang R&R ni Lotlot sa Yunan.
Ano palang ginagawa mo dito?
Nag-resign ako. Nagpunta ako dito para magbakasyon.
Bakit dito?
Nagtatago ka ba dahil sa utang?
Mukhang maraming curious
Uy, kilala mo na ba si Nico dati?
Hindi.
Bakit kanya pinasakay sa kabayo niya?
Meet yourself. Weeknight, 7:30 p.m. Dito lang sa Net 25.
Let's get together. Sunnet 25. Sunnet 25.
Oras! Alas 9:05 na po ng umaga at kasama na po natin sa linya si ASEC Chris Bendijo, Deputy Chief of Staff ng Office of the Commissioner ng Bureau of Customs. Magandang umaga at Happy New Year po, ASEC. Welcome back po sa ASPN.
Good morning, Asek.
Good morning po. Pagbati ko mula kay Commissioner Ariel at sa mga bumubuo ng Bureau of Customs.
Okay.
Direktor lang po tayo, hindi po tayo ASEC.
Ay, Direktor! O sige po, di bali, ipopromote na kita. Okay. Director Chris, ito po ang ating unang katanungan. No? Last week, talagang mainit ang balita na kayo po, kasama po na may mga kagawaran po ng gobyerno, kasama PNP, NBI yata, ay pumunta sa condominium unit ni dating ako Bicol Party List Representative Zaldico. At meron kayong mga nakuhang mga luxury vehicles, 14 ata, if I'm not mistaken. Ngayon po, ano po na kinokontest ng mga abogado ni Zaldico, no? Na mali daw yung pamamaraan, kung paano nyo daw kinumpiska yung mga luxury vehicles. So ano po ngayon ang stand ng BOC? Asa ng mga sasakyan? Ito ho ba ay auction din gaya ng mga sasakyan po ng mga diskaya? Kayo na po magkwento po.
Sige po, isa-isahin po natin.
Correct.
No? Una po, linawin ko lang po yung number of vehicles. Ang in-applyan po natin ng search warrant ay 10 lamang, pero 8 lang po yung dinatnan natin doon na napapaloob sa search warrant. No?
Okay.
Itong pag-a-apply ng search warrant, ito naman po ay mula sa intelligence information na nagmula po sa Independent Commission for Infrastructure. Kung kaya joint application po ito ng ICI at ng Bureau of Customs. Nung ito naman po ay natanggap ng Bureau of Customs, chinek po natin sa system ng Bureau of Customs ang pagpasok ng mga sasakyang ito at hindi po natin nakita yung kaukulang entries ng mga sasakyang ito. Kung kaya't ating nakumbinsi ang korte na mag-issue ng search warrant at yun nga po, na-implement po natin itong search warrant na ito. As to sa pagko-contest po, siguro po, well, we respect the statements of the lawyer, but I'd like to point out that we applied for a search warrant. It was validly issued by the court based on probable cause and evidence that was presented and the witnesses as well. We, during the implementation, before we entered the premises, nag-furnish po kami ng kopya doon sa 4 o 5 abogadong nandoon at ni-receive naman po ito. Kakilala ko pa nga po yung ibang abogado at estudyante ko pa po yung isang abogadong nandun. So meron naman pong representation ng ibang counsels nandun. At the entire time po ng pag-i-implement nito, ang mga kawani po ng Bureau of Customs ay naka-body camera naman. Bukod pa po sa mga alternative modes of recording. At syempre po, halos lahat ng tao doon ay nagre-record sa kanilang mga cellphone. Nandun din po yung presence ng barangay officials at ng media. And after naman po nating ma-implement ito, nagkaroon din po tayo ng inventaryo. Ito rin po ay pinirmahan ng mga abogadong nandun. So, ang posisyon po ng Bureau of Customs ay above board po. At talaga pong to the letter of the law ang ating pag-implement ng search warrant.
Follow-up question lang po, Director Chris. Yung sabi mo, siyam, pero 8 lang pong nahanap. Asan na yung pang-siyam?
Yung pang-siyam po kasi ay base sa impormasyon ay nailabas nung umaga, bago po kami pag-serve ng search warrant. At kasalukuyan po, hindi pa rin po ito isinusuko. Nakikipag-ugnayan naman po tayo sa HPG upang malocate ito at again, masubject naman po sa implementation ng search warrant. Ay, doon po pala sa inyong tanong, doon sa kustodiya, ang mga sasakyang ito ay patuloy na nasa kustodiya ng Bureau of Customs. Ang mga personnel po namin at mga kawani po ng Philippine Coast Guard ay nag-underguarding sa mga sasakyang ito, although naka-temporary safekeeping po ito sa parking facility ng ICI.
What is the 9th vehicle? Kasi may nakita ko yung 8, just correct me if I'm wrong, may Rolls Royce, 'di ba? May Toyota Sequoia, may ano pa ba? May Lexus ba 'yon or what is the 9th vehicle na hindi niyo pa mahanap?
Isa pong Land Cruiser yung...
Land Cruiser. Okay.
Parang halos lahat itim, Pat?
Itim. Hindi, yung Rolls Royce puti.
Puti. Pero halos lahat ng SUV niyan, parang napansin ko rin dati na halos itim lahat. Anyway, attorney at Director Chris, na pinromote ni Pat na ASEC. Malay nyo, di ba, magkatotoo yan. Ito po, itong kaso ni Zaldico, he's a politically exposed person. Alam naman po natin yan. At talaga namang sabihin nga natin na talagang lahat nakatutok sa kanya. When it comes to politically exposed people po ba, persons of interest, mas mataas po ba yung due diligence na ginagawa ng BOC, halimbawa sa kanilang pagsusuri sa mga kasong ito?
Napakaganda po ng tanong na yan. Again, we'd like to emphasize, limitado po ang mandato ng Bureau of Customs patungkol lamang sa mga bagay na dumadaan sa importation. So, we can actually say that blindly, we do not look at the personalities, but rather the object that is subject of the seizure. So in this case, tinignan po muna natin yung object, yung sasakyan. At dahil wala nga po itong records, mapapansin po natin, 5 search warrant po yung aming in-apply. At ito po ay patungkol sa mga registered owners. Ito po ay iba't ibang mga kumpanya. Although, alam naman po natin, itong mga kumpanyang ito ay inuugnay kay dating Congressman Zaldico. But as far as the BOC is concerned, ang concern po talaga namin dito is the process of importation, regardless of the owner, possessor of the smuggled item. So, kung iniuugnay man po ito kay dating Congressman Zaldico, labas na po ang Bureau of Customs sa usapin niya.
Siguro follow up on that lang, attorney. As you said nga, di ba, marami po sa mga nasamsam na smuggled vehicles ay nakapangalan sa mga korporasyon. May datos po ba tayo kung gaano kadalas ginagamit ito mga korporasyon ito para makapag-smuggle ng mga sasakyan at iba pang gamit?
Well, for now, to be candid, the initial intelligence information requested for 16 or 17 vehicles. But upon checking, doon nga po talaga pumapasok yung aming objective application of the law siyam lang po yung nakitaan natin ng kakulangan sa dokumento, kung kaya siyam lang po yung sinaklaw natin ng search warrant.
Okay.
Now, as to the frequency, wala po tayong ganyan impormasyon, no? Dahil, again, lumalabas na po tayo sa mandato ng Bureau of Customs. Ang sa amin lang po is yung process of importation.
Oo. So, Sir Chris, ito na meron po nga ulat na worth 145 million yung mga luxury cars na linked kay Zaldico. My question just for clarification, is this for the 8 vehicles, 9 vehicles, or the 15, 16 that you saw, no, na nasa inventory po ng mga luxury vehicles na pagmamay-ari ni Zaldico? At ano na ngayon ang plano nitong 8, dun sa 8? Ito ba i-auction na rin po? Magkano po yung value po ng itong mga luxury vehicles?
Yung 145 million na figure po ay para sa 8 lamang, no? So hindi po ito yung ikasyam na sasakyan.
Okay.
At yung mga sasakyang labas po ng search warrant na sinis po ng HPG tsaka ng LTO po, no? Now, as to what will happen to the vehicles, masyado pa pong maaga at this point, no, para sabihin ipapasubasta po natin ito. We will afford the registered owners due process, no? Kung sila ay may dokumento na isusumite upang i-refute ang findings po namin, we will address that. We will accept that. If you will recall po, no, kung yung apela po ng Diskaya ay patuloy po namin dinidinig, ano naman po ang Bureau of Customs? Equal application and objective application of the law.
My follow-up question lang there, Ricky. No? We just had James Dicken. And sabi niyo nga, you're going to give due process. You know, they will be given their day in court para to refute, no, itong mga, basta magpakita sila ng mga kaukulang mga dokumento. So sa inyo, calendar days, working days, alin ho ba, ilang araw po ibibigay po nyo sa kampo po ni Zaldico para po i-dispute, no, kung sakali man na hindi naman smuggled itong mga luxury vehicles na ito or kakulangan ng mga dokumento?
Yung sa amin po, no, I'd like to deviate from commenting on the LTO issue and Mr. James Deacon. No?
Yeah.
But on a regular practice, bilang abogado din po, no, talaga pong calendar days ang pagbilang po kasi kapag nagbibigay po ng period ang batas. Unfortunately po, kapag dumadaan po yung mga ganyang holidays, admittedly talagang nababawasan din po ng mga pagkakataon, no, na makapagprepara. But ganun po talaga ang tamang interpretasyon kapag nagbibigay po ng period. Kapag hindi po kinaklasify na working days ito, ang presumption po dito talaga at ang talagang magiging parang basic application would be counting the calendar
days.
Okay, attorney, siguro itong ang kaso ni Zaldico, hindi natin dapat tingnan na it's a celebrity case, no? Kailangan siguro tingnan natin to na mas nakikita natin yung medyo problema talaga natin sa smuggling. Alam na naman natin yung smuggling sa bigas, you know, sa kung ano-ano pa mga bagay, di ba? Ayan na yun eh. Pero ito po, luxury vehicles, luxury items, isama na natin yung mga relo, isama na natin yung mga bag. Nakikita niyo po ba to bilang isang isolated case lamang itong kay Zaldico? Or is this showing us a bigger loophole in the system? Kung may pagkakataon po ang Bureau of Customs, whether it be from the enforcement gaps to legal loopholes or political economy, ano po yung pinakamagandang ayusin ng BOC ngayon? Since ito nalantad na nga, na pati mga luxury vehicles, luxury items, talagang nakakasakit talaga sa ekonomiya natin. Ano po yung pwede nating ayusin sa BOC?
Well, admittedly, no, as far as the BOC is concerned, we have a lot of improvement to do. No? If you are aware, meron kasing nagkaroon ng isang kaso, no, na kung saan nag-issue ng TRO ang Korte Suprema kung kaya hindi nagkaroon ng movement itong technology sa Bureau of Customs. Nandiyan na yung X-ray, ating mga systems. But fortunately, meron na itong development this year, no, through the PPP. Now, to answer that question, we have to think of the bigger picture as well. No? Kasi when we talk about smuggling, it can be both outright and technical smuggling. Kapag technical smuggling, dumadaan ito sa port at mini-misdeclare or misclassify. But when it's outright smuggling, it's being entered or it's being brought into the country through mga sa ating coastline, no? Sa mga private ports. At tingin namin yung aming recent, no, joint efforts with the CIDG, with the HPG, kaya tayo nakakahuli ng mga malalaking smuggled cigarettes worth 2.5 billion mahigit. Wow. Dahil napaka-porous talaga ng ating archipelago, napapaligiran po tayo ng tubig at marami po talagang points of entry. So, to answer your question, baka mas kailangan pa ng holistic approach, not only the Bureau of Customs, perhaps better coastline guarding by the Philippine Coast Guard, yung pag-monitor ng mga movement ng mga ganitong containers sa ating HPG, sa CIDG, Intelligence Information, Intelligence Community, para po talaga ma-address itong mga illegal importations na nagaganap sa ating bansa.
So, Attorney Chris, I remember when we spoke to Commissioner Arias, sabi nga niya, para maibsan yan talaga, digitalization na talaga, paghigpit mga sa border. Are you contributing this? Are you using this as the reason also why you failed to meet your targets for 2025? Ano po ang kadahilan, 'di ba, aside from the yung rice importation ban, no? Wala nang taripa po 'yon. Tapos ngayon po ito, ano po yung mga kadahilanan kung bakit po hindi nyo po na-meet ang inyong targets? Was it, to begin with, too high? Or parang, ano po, kayo na po magbigay po ng kadahilanan?
Well, we have to consider the conditions at the time the targets were set. No? At that time, the suspension of rice importation was not contemplated. That's one. Bukod pa po sa ibang mga bagay, no? We can really observe a decline insofar as transactions and entries of containers sa ating bansa. But what we'd like to point out is that despite this decline, despite this imposition of the suspension of the rice importation, no, if you compare the month by month, year on year, nagkaroon pa rin po tayo ng almost 2% increase. No? So if we will be comparing the months of 2024 with 2025, despite the reduction of volume of transactions, the Bureau of Customs still registered an increase in collection. So, what we'd like to say is that while hindi siguro patas na susukatin ka sa target set under different conditions, we'd like to point out that through our system, more efficient collection, despite the decline in transactions, we were still able to reflect a positive, an almost 2% increase in revenue collection.
So, Attorney, in 2020, this year, ngayon 2026 po ba, are you positive na magkakaroon po ng improvement yung ating collection sa BOC?
Well, for one, no, andyan na yung pagre-restore ulit, no, under controlled conditions itong ating rice importation. So that will really contribute again to revenue collection. But as you are aware, no, simple lang naman yung implementation ni Commissioner Ariel, no, talagang focused on good governance. That's why we're emphasizing that despite the decline in transactions, in volume of transactions, we are still able to reflect and float, no, almost 2% increase in collections. So this year, we are hoping for a better target setting, mas patas yung conditions, mas fair ang conditions. And of course, no, kung wala namang restrictions sa mga ganitong revenue-generating activities like rice importation, we are expecting a better scenario for 2026.
Ako, honestly, parang ngayon, 2026, bababa ang collection. Ako, nangyari sa boses ko. Kasi nga, wala nang bumibili masyado mga luxury vehicles. Di ba? Siyempre, yung mga maraming pera dyan, tinatago na nila yung pera, ayaw na nila ilantad yung kanilang kayamanan.
Ay, ako, Pat, may question lang ako. Kasi hindi ko natanong kanina kay attorney, nagkukwento siya, di ba may dalawang uri nga doon ng smuggling. Yung kay Zaldi ko, balikan lang natin, curious lang po tayo, dahil ang dami na nga kasong kakaharipin ni Zaldi, di ba? Ano po bang klaseng so far, mabibigay niyo na po ba sa amin yung impormasyon kung paano po niya na-smuggle yung mga sasakyan niya? Ano pong klaseng smuggling yung kanya? At ano po magiging implikasyon nito kung sakali magkaroon pa siya ng kaso?
Well, at this point, no, masyado pa rin maaga to finally determine ano yung mode of entry into the country, no? But what we can say is that after we were able to implement the search warrant, nakuha na po namin yung ibang detalye ng sasakyan, yung chassis number, yung engine number, at mas ma-search na po namin ang mas maigi yung system, no? Now, through the use of those details, itong engine number, itong chassis number, makikita po natin kung ibang import entry ang ginamit at kung ano man yung deklarasyon doon, kung ito ba ay talagang tutugma sa kanyang sa brand and model ng sasakyan or ibang brand or model ang ginamit. No? So, I think we will come out with formal announcements siguro in the next coming days. But for now, after we have implemented the search warrant, we are better equipped with more information to determine the mode of entry sa bansa.
Attorney, you cannot say it's an outright form of smuggling?
No, we were able to determine that because upon checking the records, walang lumalabas na ganyang sasakyan. So,
Walang import
the presumption created is walang import entry. O dahil walang import entry, unlawfully imported siya. But with the added information that we were able to gather upon implementation of the search warrant, we can search the system better. We can search it using the engine number, using the chassis number, and we will determine there. Kung merong import entry na biglang lalabas doon, titingnan natin anong sasakyan ang nakadeklara doon. Ito ba ay tutugma sa brand and model ng mga sasakyan na saklaw ng ating search warrant.
Okay. Walang papayong nakasama doon sa white Rolls Royce?
Meron po.
Meron.
Ito po yung payong na ibibenta po natin.
Sige, doon na lang ako magbibid. Doon na lang sa payong kasi hindi ko nakuha yung sa mga diskaya. Naku, wala na tayong oras. I wanted to ask, just quickly update doon sa mga diskaya vehicles. Kasi, di ba, parang may naiwan pang 2 o 3 na hindi po nabili. Quickly lang po, attorney.
Doon po sa kanilang voluntary surrendered at forfeited in favor of the government, 2 po yung benta, nag-convene na po yung ating komite to accept negotiated offers. Pero meron pa pong 6 na kanilang inaapila. Minabadali na po natin yung ating legal division upang ilabas ang resolusyon dito. Siguro within January po malalabas na po natin ang magiging decision dito kung for forfeiture ba ito at i-auction din po eventually.
6 vehicles pa ng diskaya. So for decision pa yon. Okay, sige po. Maraming salamat ulit, Attorney Chris Bendijo. Happy New Year po sa inyo. Magbabalik ka, ikukwento mo sa amin kung ano po yung nagyari dun sa investigasyon nyo sa masasakyan ni Zaldico. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Attorney.
Thank you for the opportunity. Good morning po.
Okay, at ang oras, alas 9:24 na po ng umaga.
Samantala, kasama po naman natin si Erlo Bringas para sa update po sa nangyari nga po na landslide dyan sa may Cebu. Erlo, magandang umaga.
Good morning, Sunshine!
Magandang umaga, Ricky and Patty. Nagpatuloy ang search and retrieval operations ng Philippine Coast Guard sa naganap na landslide sa isang landfill sa Barangay Binaliw sa Cebu City. Itong weekend nakapagsagawa na rin ng paghahanap ang PCG kasamang iba pang ahensya ng gobyerno at rescue group sa lugar ng insidente. Ayon sa PCG, pinakauling ulat ng SAR team ay 34 na tao pa ang nananatiling nawawala, samantala 12 individual ang nasagip at dinala na sa ospital para sa agad na gamutan. 4 naman ang katawan ang na-recover mula sa lugar ng landslide. Patuloy naman ang operasyon sa kabila ng peligro sa lugar dahil sa posibleng pagkuhupan ng basura at lupa. Pinaiigting din ang pag-iingat ng mga rescuer habang isinasagawa ang paghahanap. Matatanda ang nangyari ang landslide sa landfill sa Barangay Binaliw matapos gumuho ang tumpok ng basura na pinaniniwalaang dahil sa malakas na ulan at paglambot ng lupa. Ilang tao rin ang natapunan habang nasa lugar noong mga nasabing oras ng maganap ang nasabing insidente. Yan muna ang latest. Balik sa inyo.
Quick question lang, Erlo. Kamusta naman ang panahon ngayon dyan? Nahihirapan ba silang i-retrieve yung mga naburo or okay naman yung panahon? Search and rescue pa rin?
Pati sa last update from PCG, so tuloy-tuloy yung search and rescue. Sa ngayon naman yata ay medyo kalmado ang panahon, pero may mga pagkakataon kasi talagang bubuhos yung ulan, kailangan may precautionary measures dun sila doon sa ginagawa nilang search and retrieval operation, Pati.
Nagkita ba kayo ni VP Sara? Nag-abot ba kayo? Di ba binisita niya yung mga naging biktima dyan?
Hindi na. Ibang araw sila nagpunta kasi.
Sayang. Okay, sige. Maraming salamat, Sunshine Erlo. Ingat ka pa rin. Ayan po si Sunshine Erlo Bringas mula sa Cebu. At ang oras, alas 9:26 na po ng umaga. Sa aming pagbabalik, makakausap po natin si Professor Don McLean-Gill, isang geopolitical analyst at lecturer po mula sa Department of International Studies din po sa De La Salle University. Sa pagbabalik po yan ng ASPN.
Ano sa palagay nyo?
Ang sigaw ng Pinoy Nation. Information and education.
It can only grow further and stronger. As time passes by, we learn about your story. In an institution of exceptional healthcare, with genuine Christian compassion, we care about you. With a safe, secured, and sanitized environment, accompanied by a team of trusted healthcare professionals. We're built this way to serve you better. By providing affordable health services to general population, we want what's best for you. Because at New Era General Hospital, everyone matters.
Selina Luhmann is out shopping. Christian Zadhoff hikes across Germany. And Selina Yex takes photos in nature. Sounds ordinary, right? Not for them. These activities are pure medicine. Panic attacks, depression, ADHD, those affected share their stories. Like how heart problems can strain the mind, and vice versa. Kati shows us how to break the vicious cycle, now on In Good Shape.
Sa mata ng balita, una sa kaalaman, mga boses na mapagkakatiwalaan ng mamamayan.
Higit sa 100 milyong pisong halaga ng shabu ang nasapat sa isinagawang bypass operation sa lungsod ng Baguio.
Natakot naman at nalungkot ang mga negosyanteng Chinese-Filipino sa sinapit po ng businessman at ang driver nito na dinukot at pinaslang.
Ali Soto, Alex Santos, Mata ng Agila Primetime. Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 6 ng gabi, dito lang sa Net 25.
Let's get together. Sunday 25. Sunday 25.
Alas 9:29 na po ng umaga at ang oras na ito hatid sa inyo ng Flash Express. Forward your business in a flash. At ang oras muli, alas 9:29 na po at kasama na po natin sa linya si Professor Don McLean Gill. Siya po ay ating geopolitical analyst at lecturer rin po sa Department of International Studies dyan po sa De La Salle University. Good morning po, Professor, and welcome back to ASPN and Happy New Year. I'm with Ricky.
Good morning po.
Good morning.
Po. Happy New Year, and it's a true pleasure to be here, to be back.
Okay, Professor, Happy New Year ba talaga? Nako, nagkakaroon ng maraming gulo. Ewan ko kung pwedeng ba natin sabihin, nagmumula sa Estados Unidos. Umpisahan po natin sa ginawa nilang pagkupkop doon po sa presidente, no, kay Nicolas Maduro at sa kanyang misis. Ano po ang magiging implikasyon po nito sa ating bansa or dito po sa Indo-Pacific? No? May mga nakausap na kami mula sa DOE at saka isang economics professor, sabi nila, medyo wala naman masyadong impact dahil malayo-layo. Pero kayo, bilang isang international studies na professor, do you share the same sentiment that the capture of Nicolas Maduro and his wife by Donald Trump has very little significance on the Philippines?
Alright, that's a very good question po. And kailangan po muna natin i-contextualize to para maintindihan ng implikasyon nito sa atin in terms of geopolitics and operations, right? Looking aside the moralistic side of the discussion. So, kung makita po natin, itong operation ng United States sa Venezuela is resemblant of yung operation niya sa Iraq. However, there is still a big difference. The fact that, for instance, ang political institutions of Venezuela, they're still running, they're still intact. And this was different from what happened in Iraq, where everything was obliterated. So in that case, there is still a functional working system there, and there isn't much of that huge vacuum that was found in Iraq to ensure some sort of continuity. Now, yes, I've heard time and time and again, and I've seen a lot of commentaries that say that there is a direct link between, what the U.S. did and emboldening China to do what it has to do or what it wants to do in the Western Pacific, particularly towards Taiwan, and meron din sinasabi na sa West Philippine Sea and all these things. However, it isn't as simple as that, and I believe that we must rise above that narrative. This is not the first time the U.S. Committed this kind of unilateral action. And on the other hand, China has been trying to prepare for its expansionist designs for Taiwan based on its capabilities and, of course, yung cost that it would incur from this intended illegal action. And, of course, the cost would be very high for China. So saying that this U.S. operation would serve as a precedent for China is objectively flawed. But yes, rhetorically, China can use this to justify such claims. However, it would be more complicated than that operationally. And of course, the U.S. would not turn a blind eye on China when it comes to Taiwan or the first island chain, regardless of the assumptions. Kung nakikita po natin na nangyayari ngayon on the ground for the past few months, the U.S. is already very much invested in ensuring that China does not alter the balance of power in the first island chain. So, pero meron pong limited implications yan. For instance, North Korea. North Korea right now is arming up. Because syempre, nafe-feel niya at any time, pwede rin siya maging target, for instance. So, we see that there are some implications.
Okay. So, my follow-up question there, it seems like President Donald Trump is like on a shopping spree of countries. Venezuela, Iran, Greenland, and all that, and who knows what else, no? What next? Do you feel that, sabi nga nila, iba yung right from power, flexing power eh. Pero ano yun naman po yung implikasyon po dito po sa Iran? Kasi alam naman po natin, talaga doon po magulo na po talaga eh. And the US is already threatening that they are going to intervene. How about that? If you say the Venezuela na medyo okay, malayo-layo pa, pero itong sa Iran, meron na bang direct effect na po sa atin? Kung sakali po magkagulo na naman doon?
Well, the most critical aspect yung sa Iran would be pagdating sa energy supply. If we look into the Iranian energy exports, China enjoys a clear monopoly of its energy exports. And in that regard, of course, if there would be some sort of a regime change that would be in favor of the West, then this would eventually also create implications for the oil expert, the energy expert. And the exports would eventually widen. It would become more inclusive. And of course, this would not be favorable to China. However, on the other hand, on the other side of the spectrum, we also see that Iran is a tougher nut to crack than Venezuela because of the political institutions at play within Iran. But yes, you are absolutely right. There are already a lot of developments that have been unfolding in the past month alone. However, we can only speculate for now as far as how this would go. However, if there would be, and there have been statements of the Shah, for instance, coming back, the system of the Shah coming back, which has been more favorable to the U.S., has been more favorable to Israel, for instance, then that would alter the regional dynamics. But for the Philippines, most especially, it would be in terms of our energy security. And this could also open up more options, if ever, in the long run.
Okay. Professor, we live in different eras now, different circumstances. Pero kung hindi pa alam ng ating mga kababayan, this is not the first time that the U.S. has actually captured a reigning president, kumbaga. 1901, Pat, natandaan mo, si Emilio Aguinaldo, siya ang kauna-unahang leader na talagang sinakop ng Estados Unidos. Nakikita niyo po ba that despite the different circumstances now, mayroon pong political pattern ang Estados Unidos when they are going to intervene?
Well, this is a behavior primarily, if you look at it objectively, if you look at it in terms of realpolitik, it's the behavior of more powerful states when they feel that there are compromises within specific regions when it comes to their national interest. And it's not just the United States that has actually done a lot of these things. We see a lot of internal discord happening by virtue of other states. So it's not just the U.S. may be coming in a more extravagant manner, but there are also equally important ongoing interventionist policies from major powers as well, such as malign information operations China, for instance, has also been equally capable of creating discord within nation states. But this is a different form of interventionist policy, but eventually the goal would be the same. One is just a little bit more rash, but the other is, a little bit slower. It's more, it entails more sophisticated networks, for instance, within the state. But again, this is an unfortunate consequence of major power politics, which would have obviously have implications for less powerful states.
Yeah. Okay, Professor, the reason why I ask also is because since they were able to do it before, what are the guarantees that they won't do it to, as you said, weaker states also? And ano, like the Philippines, ano po yung magiging protection natin if kung kayang gawin nga ng Estados Unidos ito, na parang wala naman silang magiging parang accountability sa international law? Ano po yung magiging protection natin? Posible bang magawa ulit nila ito sa atin?
Well, that's true. I mean, international law, from what we are seeing today, is being applied highly selectively. Right? And this is problematic as far as the legalities go, as far as morals go. But when we look into these things, it's also important not to generalize that what could be done to others could be done in other parts of the world as well, because each region also has its own difference when it comes to geopolitical configurations, when it comes to the asymmetry and the balance of power and all these things. So keeping that in mind, we should see that there are clear divergences as far as how these interventionist policies could go. And it also talks about, for instance, like I've said earlier, there are states that have been eyeing certain states, but because of the cost, right? And if we look into how things are going, and things have been going, we see that the Philippine-U.S. alliance remains intact. However, for the Philippines as an independent sovereign state, we should also continue to diversify our options to ensure that we have as much possible options necessary when it comes to our economic and security interests. And that is where our ongoing efforts of diversification are actually intended. And of course, another aspect here is to build slowly on our self-reliance, right? So this is obviously a very long journey, but at least we're starting, right? So there's no easy answer to this, and there's no easy guarantee to this. The only one who could give a full guarantee would be speculating. However, what we could do is to prepare, for instances where our integrity or national sovereignty would be compromised. And like I said, it's not just the U.S. That we have to be concerned with. More critical to that is, of course, what's taking place right now as far as information operations go and all these malign influence operations, which are equally devastating. So we have to prepare. We have to build our resilience. We have to improve cooperation with states that are able to provide us with that capability and capacity.
Yeah. So, Professor, aside from country shopping that Donald Trump is doing, he also has pulled out of 66 international organizations and treaties. How is this going to affect the world? Because, of course, a lot of the funding comes from them. And I can't blame him. No, he thinks that it's just going to all these woke policies and all that. But aside from the repercussions of pulling out, does this affect, how will it affect the global, all these countries who are dependent on U.S. funding, on these organizations like climate change, which we all know is really happening, which is really a big threat, and yet they're pulling out. So how will this affect us?
Yes, absolutely. So the move by the United States is also problematic in the context of multilateralism, the importance of multilateralism, the whole idea behind global governance, and obviously institution-based cooperation and development, right? However, if we look closely when it comes to the list of these organizations that the U.S. pulled out from, these are relatively marginal United Nations organizations. The U.S. still remains in the more vital organizations of the United Nations. What I'm sensing here is obviously the timing, right? This could be this selected exit could be catered to the domestic audience as well, and more particularly the MAGA bloc. Remember, the midterm elections in the U.S. is nearing, and Trump himself told Republicans that if they don't win, he can be impeached. So I feel that these are measured, measured techniques to be able to cater to, as I've mentioned, the MAGA bloc, and at the same time create that sort of narrative at home. However, you are equally right in saying that obviously those countries, developing countries that depend on this sort of assistance, it would also be challenging for them. And this is where, of course, the competition comes in. You would see other countries try to fill in that vacuum of leadership for these UN organizations. And we'd already seen this trend as early as Trump 1.0, right? But if I look into these developments as far as the pulling out is concerned and the selection of UN organizations, I see this more as a posturing for the midterm elections in the United States.
You think so? You're not concerned? I mean, you're not worried that it is going to have a direct impact? Because case in point was when he pulled out the funding for U.S. aid. I mean, we were affected because a lot of health projects were canceled, a lot of people lost their jobs, and then now pulling out of 66 organizations and treaties, I'm sure a lot of people will be displaced, unemployed. I mean, isn't that going to have a domino effect worldwide?
Well, I wouldn't think of it as a major domino effect worldwide. It would create short-term to mid-term disruptions, definitely, similar to what the U.S. aid situation, what it actually implied as far as the global economy, as far as the developmental interest of states. But again, I don't see this as something that would, snowball into something catastrophic right away. There would be buffers. There would be states that would try to fill in that particular vacuum. However, we have to go back to the point that Trump isn't the U.S. and the U.S. isn't Trump. We have seen how policies have rotated, have shifted depending on the political structure in the United States. So in that case, there are chances of reversal. And we've seen a lot of reversals throughout the past 8 years alone. But again, these reversals are also challenging because they also disrupt. So the problem here is that it disrupts the way states have actually been engaging in. And eventually, unfortunately, this would lead them to realign with other countries, right? And we've seen this sort of realignment happening in Southeast Asia itself, where we have other countries trying to realign more with China, for instance, trying to realign more with Japan because of their concerns of the complacency of U.S. policy when it comes to regional affairs. So this is a trend that we would also likely see along with these pullouts.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Ako naman, Prof. and Pat, the first time I heard about Trump's decision that he wants Greenland, I found it so incredulous because at this day and age, uso pa ba yung mga conquistadores? Parang hindi na yan ito uso, lalo na at meron po tayo mga international law. But if he was able to actually do it to Venezuela, Prof, we know there's no legal basis for him to take on another country, a sovereign country, just because of his national security, But what are the implications po? Is there a possibility that he will still be able to take over Greenland? Because for me, really, it's so... How can you do that at this day and age? So, porket gusto ko itong bansang to.
Conquering.
Ayan, hanungkot ng watawat, di ba? Tatayan ko ng watawat, Meron po bang magiging accountability naman sa international courts ang Estados Unidos if any attempt will be done by the U.S. To take on Greenland either by force or coercion?
Well, again, I don't think that this would materialize. First of all, they are both allies, and even within the Republican base, there is a strong understanding that this is not likely going to happen, even from the MAGA camp as well. I think that bringing up the issue at this point in time is also related to the domestic flavor as far as the midterm elections go. But as far as operations are concerned, I do not think that it could go that far. I don't think that the U.S. would that level, because it would also be detrimental for them. And keeping cost in mind, this is definitely not a practical option for the United States. It does sound bizarre, but I do not think that this would be something that would actually push through. And the mere fact that they raised it again at this point in time, again, adds significance to the domestic audience, right? So it's also important to take note of that. But again, such statements coming from the U.S., again, are disruptive. They are problematic. But again, we have to see through the smoke screen of rhetoric, of political rhetoric.
And of course, it doesn't help that you have a president like Donald Trump, who's very, I don't know what word to use that's polite, but we don't know how he thinks. Or it depends on when he wakes up, what his agenda for the day is.
Very spontaneous, if that's the polite
spontaneous
word.
and very colorful, if I may add. Thank you very much, Professor Don McLean-Gill, for enlightening us, being very informative, and at least hearing you, there's some sense of relief that it's not so bad. I mean, I guess all the global players will not allow bad things, I guess, to happen. Where they can intervene, they will have to intervene. Thank you very much again, Professor.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, that was Professor Don McLean-Gill, ang ating geopolitical analyst at lecturer po ng Department of International Studies sa DLSU. At ang oras, alas 9:48 na po ng umaga at magbabalik pa po ang ASPN.
Ano sa palagay nyo?
Ang sigaw ng Pinoy Nation. Information and education.
Dahil walang hinto ang balita.
Financial straits.
Mata ng Agila Weekend tuwing Sabado, alas 4 ng hapon. Ito ang Net 25. Matatag, matapang, matapang.
Let's net together sa Net 25. Sa Net 25.
Alas 9:49 na po ng umaga. Tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang ating pagbabalita. Nako, ano yung crime story mo, Ricky?
Ito, patay ang isang lalaki sa Iloilo City matapos siyang lingkisin at kagati ng isang sawa sa Iloilo City noong January 11. Nangyari po ang insidente sa barangay Bulilaw sa distrito ng Mandurriao. Ayon po sa mga residente, nagising sila sa malakas na tunog ng pagbagsak ng isang bagay. Nang silipin kung ano ang nangyayari, nakita nila ang isang mahabang sawa na nakapulupot na sa biktima. Pinagpakalo ng mga residente ang sawa para mailigtas ang biktima. Ayon sa kanila, madalas silang makakita ng sawa sa katabing Bulilaw Creek, lalo na tuwing high tide.
Laki, oh.
Naku, laki.
Ang haba.
Tinatayang may habang 11.5 feet ang sawang nakapatay sa kawawang lalaki.
So ano yun? Namatay siya dahil pinilipit siya, hindi sa tinuka?
Hindi naman. Kinagat din daw Kinagat din, pero pinulupot din.
Ano pag sawa? Lilingkisin ka talaga, hindi dahil sa inano ka. Oh my gosh.
11.5 feet, Pat, ha? Gano'ng kalaki yun?
Ilang beses kaya iikot
diba?
yun, no?
Oo, tapos hanggang makrak lahat ng mga buto-buto mo sa loob at laman loob mo. Grabe.
Oh my. Okay, nako, ito naman, mas magandang balita dahil ngayong araw po, ang birthday nag-iisa kong Papa P, si Piolo Pascual. Happy birthday, Papa P. Sana'y po ng mga aktor sa Pilipinas na nanatiling isa sa pinakasikat at maituturing na timeless heartthrob. Tingnan mo naman yan, pag gumaising ka ng umaga at yan ang bumati sa'yo, talagang maganda talagang iyong araw. Walang iba kundi nga si Piolo Pascual. Sa paglipas po ng mga taon, habang may ilang artistang hindi napapanatili ang kanilang kasikatan, si Papa P ay patuloy na nangingibabaw bilang isa sa mga pangunahing leading man at pinaka-inaasam na celebrity endorser ng kanyang henerasyon. Ano nga ba ang kanyang sikreto? Balikan natin po ang aking exclusive interview sa kanya noong December 25 dito po sa ASPN. Ang showbiz pasilip ni Pat P. Panoorin po natin to. Hindi alam ng marami na over 30 years ka ng artista. Baka hindi sila makapaniwala na ikaw ay 49 years old na. Talagang 49, walang ano yung beauty secret mo? Doon na lang tayo muna mag-umpisa. What do you do to keep yourself young-looking, fit?
It comes with the territory, I guess.
Uh-huh.
You know, sa trabaho natin, kailangan always ready. We're always prepared for a role.
Mm-mm.
So it comes with a job. One factor is faith.
Mm-hmm.
If you're grounded, if you're centered sa faith mo, everything is light.
Mm-mm.
So relating to being positive, I guess if you're exuding positive energy, then it comes back to you.
Okay, at 49 years old, Piolo Pascual enjoys being single daw. Bakit nga ba? Hinintay mo ba ako, Papa P? People are asking, when are you also going to settle down?
I'm settled.
You're settled? So no plans talaga to... kasi si Inigo, how old na ba si Inigo? 28. Ayaw mo na siyang sundan, ayaw mo na siyang, di ba?
Pag may oras na ako.
Pag may wala ka pa rin oras?
As I've said, my love life is my career.
Yeah.
So this comes first.
Not even dating, not even...
Magastos eh. Magastos. Kunin ko na lang. Tapos wala rin naman mangyayari.
So, saan mo?
Gagamitin lang ako. Wow!
So ikaw lahat ng ipon mo, iniipon mo lang. You don't splurge, you don't how do you travel? Okay, base nga sa kanyang latest post, mukhang nasa Puerto Rico ngayon si Papa P at doon nagse-celebrate ng kanyang 49th birthday. Mula sa amin po dito sa ASPN, happy birthday to my one and only Papa P, Piolo Pascual. At bago tayo magpaalam, I want to greet also the household staff of my bestest friend in the world, Menakshi Sewani, kay Amelia at kay Delia. Lagi silang nanonood kasi binabantayan nila yung tatay ni Menakshi, si Tito Kishu Sewani. Hello, Tito Kishu! Nice seeing you last Friday. And to my best friend, Menakshi Sewani, safe travels on Wednesday. At bago po tayo magpaalam, ito ang aming question of the day. Alamin natin ang damdamin ng ating mga kababayan sa ating question of the day. Bakit kailangan magdusa muna ang mga driver bago ayusin ng LTO ang mga maling patakaran? Ano sa palagay nyo? Ang sabayanan, pinuso natin. Panoorin po natin ito.
Na example mo biyahe sa malayong lugar, kung mahuli man sila, huwag mo naman kuhanin ang lisensya. Kasi, kawawa naman sila. Kung mapupunta sa ibang lugar, wala silang ipresenta na lisensya kasi kailangan din nila yon. Kung mahuli mga ang driver, magbigay lang sa violation, kung magkano bayarin, ipadala lang sa Gcash para hindi maabala ang driver. Kaya, pagbigyan mo na ang mga driver.
Noong una, hindi ako pabor sa pag-agaran o paghahasil po ng ating otoridad, lalo na sa LTO, sa ating mga driver or operator.
Ginagawa naman nila, nararapat nasa kanila. Kung may violation, violation talaga. Sumunod sila sa batas.
Mali naman talaga yung lalabag ka sa batas nila.
Okay, yan po ang ating mga pinulsuhan. At pahabol. Aside from Amelia and Delia, si Warren din daw nanunood.
Wow.
Ayan, Warren ha. Okay, at Tito Kishu, here, I'm your favorite. Menakshi.
May pasalubong ba yan?
Hindi, maraming pera si Tito Kishu eh. Baka sakaling mabiyayaan ako.
Kaya pala bestest friend in the world.
Kaya bestest friend in the world. Apat kami magbabarkada since grade school. Si Arlene Sanchez, Mayan Casal, Menakshi Sewani, at saka ako. Yan ang mga bestest friends ko. O, ikaw na mag-greet.
At syempre, happy 60th birthday din po kay Brother Larry Asuncion ng Tagumpay 1 mula sa Rodriguez Rizal. Happy birthday din kay Zion Cerces Bunao.
Ayan po, lahat mga nagse-celebrate ng kanilang mga birthday. Happy birthday!
Happy birthday! At dito sa ASPN, mahalaga po ang inyong palagay. Kaya sa bawat issue na papanahon, parte kayo ng diskusyon.
At umaasa kaming bukod sa impormasyon, ay may nakuha rin kayong inspirasyon sa ating talakayan ngayong umaga. Dahil minsan, sapat na ito para magbigay ng lakas at pag-asa sa atin. Muli kayong tumutok bukas dito sa
Ano sa Palagay Nyo?
See you everybody! Susunod na po ang Kada Umaga Girls. Hello, Warren, Amelia, and Delia.
At 9:30, matalang agla international PM po.
See you everybody! Enjoy your Monday!